Marriage is a beautiful thing, right?
sure.
I think I love a family unit because, like you said, I grew
sure.
up on old school music. If you listen to it, then you know what
Johnny Taylor.
what love is. Yeah, Johnny Taylor. Who else you got, bro? Jodeci. I like the 90s, bro. I like the 90s for sure.
Truth is, can't nobody stop us. Truth is, can't nobody stop us.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the Mentality Podcast. This is your co-host, Austin Carter, a.k.a. Mr. Obsessed with anything positive, anything that's going to get you going.
What's going on, everybody? This is your co-host, Lee, Mr. Aspire to Inspire. And today, we got a good show. We got another great guest on the show. This is a co-founder and CEO of Exposure Inc., Mr. Danny Martin.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Get it.
Let's get it.
This is going to be an awesome moment because we get to share like insights from a tech perspective that a lot of people just don't know about.
Definitely.
And, seeing how that can be involved in content creation. So this is why I'm excited to be here because you guys are creating something that people can see and share with their friends and family.
Well, we appreciate you being here too, man.
Always. Yeah.
One thing what we like to do is start off the show, we like to ask one specific question.
Got it.
How's your mental health right now?
Man, that's intense due to the fact that, we are a bootstrap company. For 2 years, we understood the fact that, COVID hit and we had to change the dynamics of our actual platform to adhere to educators, to impact education because the tools wasn't there for educators who wanted to engage with their actual students, that they were used to actually engage with them in a physical form. So now they have to do it from a virtual form. And so for us, we had to be able to make a decision. It's like, what do we do? Do we create an actual platform or we just try to keep our space occupied when nobody is trying to occupy space, right? Do we just keep on knocking on the door and hoping that individuals will come, or do we go create based off of an innovative element? And sometimes you have to make some critical decisions to do that. And ultimately that means keeping on your staff, building another space and taking on more capital. And as a bootstrap company, every month is very critical, especially when you have individuals that are looking at for you to pay their next bills or to take care of their family. And so for me, the pressure is heavy when it comes down to it. I always tell myself, like, I can't wait to, we get acquired or we have this awesome valuation to where we don't have to be in a slave mentality of an investor giving us capital and taking most of our equity from our actual company and having to literally work for someone else when you created something. But you have to tell yourself, like, it's going to be hard, it's going to be intense, but keep pushing. So my mental right now is like straight understanding of humility, knowing that I don't know everything, but also understanding that where I come from helped me be very resourceful.
Got you.
That's really interesting. So from a scale of 1 to 10, what would you put it at?
Yeah, I would say I feel like my mental is strong, so I would say about an 8.
That's really good.
I feel as if like I'm confident now even more because when I started in this industry, nobody knew about esports and gaming. So I felt more crazy when I first started. Now when I'm going, people are like, you feel like some genie or something, like you thought about time and, just understanding that where the industry is growing right now. It's still in its infancy stages, but understanding that I'm considered a thought leader in this industry at this point gives me the confidence to know that I ain't crazy. So every day I wake up knowing like I got something, that of a value. So I'm not so much more of like just stressed. I'm more so like patient, but understanding that it's very, very difficult. And now I can just succeed to, someone giving me an offer, but I know because of my confidence, I know I can actually be a little bit more resourceful and wait a little bit longer and drive up my valuation. So it gives me more so like my mentality is strong as heck, more than anything right now, just due to the fact that I know the value that I have as a human.
Right.
So on days that your mental may not be an 8, maybe a 6 or 5 or even lower, what do you do to build that mentality up to an 8 or higher on your days that you might be low?
Man, I know it may sound crazy, but in my world, I'm changing individuals' lives. So just like last week, the NBA 2K league, which is owned by the NBA, had an actual draft, and that's about 102,000 individuals actually compete for this actual draft, and about 60 individuals, if not less than that, get picked. And some individuals that we've been training for a considerable amount of time now, a couple years or so, have the capabilities of getting drafted, right? And when they get drafted on that large stage by way of the NBA, they contact me and say, hey, You know, thank you so much for the platform that you provided to me. So being able just to have those moments, those are the moments when I'm feeling like really low. Those are the moments that keep me really high, because I feel as if like there is a purpose of what we're doing. You know, this is strictly like, this is passion when it comes down to this space. So my confidence and my mental, it's almost like, this is, how would I say it? It's, we had a U-Haul going. This is funny. We had a U-Haul going down to San Antonio, and on the U-Haul meter there was a gas mileage. I would say how you can have the most effective gas mileage.
Okay, yeah,
if you hit it really hard, then you get bad, you get dropped.
Yeah.
So I'm living in coasting where I have the best gas mileage to keep me going for a longer period
That's a
of
good
time.
analogy, yeah.
So therefore, I can be able to sustain the actual pressures that come with actually running the business. But ultimately, knowing that this is me keeping a sane, confident, and being strong mentally, so therefore I can be able to sustain and not crash.
Right.
And that's the biggest dynamic from my perspective, is not having bad fuel mileage in my actual vehicle, which is my mind, my body, and my soul.
That's dope.
Dope. So I want to dig a little bit more into you as the individual.
Yeah.
On this show, Mentality, we love to give our guests their flowers. You have done so many amazing things. You mentioned that you're considered a thought leader, a person that was able to see the future in a sense before a lot of people. You're pretty much an architect of the future, in my opinion. I want to give you your flowers, Danny, and I want to tell you that what you're doing is so amazing. Me and Sierra, my wife, when we first stumbled upon you a couple of years ago now, she interviewed you for the Boss Seat, and when she told me about you, because I'm into gaming, I game, and I was like, hold on. This guy has a facility where he teaches education about the gaming world,
for sure.
the production side, and also how to get into the game. I'm like, okay, we got to get this dude on. So I really want to tell you, Danny, like, you have made such an impact, and it's not over yet, because as we all know, that sit in this chair right now, like, the digital era is the future. You know what I mean? I know people are scared and people think that the Neuralinks, listen, I understand that, but learn how to leverage and utilize this technology that's coming. So I want to ask you this right here, just to learn a little bit more about you. Tell me about you growing up and where you from, and how did you even, what led your journey to get to where you are now?
I'm from the southern sector of Dallas. Specifically, I've gone to schools in Oak Cliff. I lived with my grandmother, who lived off of Marsalis, which is in Oak Cliff. I went to that of elementary schools like Claire Oliver, T.D. Marshall, Bow Story. I lived with my grandmother because my mother, she traveled a lot. Like, she would go out, and fly to a different state or a different country on a Sunday morning, and then she wouldn't get back till like Friday. So for us, we had to live with our grandmothers for a good amount. And she was an entrepreneur too. So she was an entrepreneur in tech. She was the individual that they called her like a Swiss Army knife for that of big tech companies. So they would consult her when they would go through projects and the projects wouldn't do good. So they'll have like $100 million projects, and they'll bring her in when the project didn't go away to be able to help fix the actual issue. And I never knew that growing up. I just knew that I was living with my grandmother, and we were in the hood. So, and she had to do that because she didn't have, she was a single mother. So from that perspective, I seen my father, but my father was also, he was in the elements of, like, he struggled. He hurt his back when he was pretty young, and at the post office, he worked for the post office, and he never could be able to work. So he spent a lot of his life, even to this day, looking for that reparations from the post office. And we know the post office not doing as much good. So I'm like, hey, Dad, give me your money. We got to figure out how something else is going on.
Exactly.
Something else. But, that his struggle was real when it came to it growing up. And my mom had to push for us as a family. It's 4 of us. But she had to push, and seeing that I knew that she was an entrepreneur but didn't really quite know what entrepreneur was, I leaned more to my uncles. So she's one of 4, one of 5, and all of them are male. So my family was hood, so they went to prison, and A lot of them, especially the ones I looked up to, they would get out of prison and they couldn't have a job, but they were still entrepreneurial minded. So they would do like barbecues, like barbecue trucks, or foreclosed homes, cleaning out foreclosed homes, or cutting yards. So for me, that was my job while I was in school as well as the summer. So while in class, I'm sitting there hearing about Spanish or physics or calculus, and I'm like, bro, I gotta go make some money.
I know.
And as soon as this bell ring, I'm gonna get on the truck, and I got my yards, and I know I'm about to get $150, right? Yeah. So for me, I'm like, this is what I'm focusing on over here. And the talks when you get in the truck with your uncles, and they talk about girl, they talk about struggle, they talk about prison. I'm like, I'm good.
I'm good.
What else? My mom was terrified because she was just like, no, I don't want you. As soon as she get back, like, come on now. She was like, you finna do something, with your life. So that was the moment where I just grew up in like some crazy environments in the Oak Cliff area. I seen a lot, man. I seen a lot. I remember one instance, like my grandmother and papa's house was like right in the middle of 3 crack houses, of Presidio. And I remember one time me and my cousin was there, and they raided one of the SWAT team raided, and they came through our house.
Y'all in the middle of that.
Yeah, we're in the middle of it, and then we're sitting there like, what the heck is going on? And then as soon as the actual SWAT and all the police left, all we seen was like all the crack fiends that was all around. They just raided the house and got like all the stuff. So you're just seeing like all these crackheads, like, we didn't know we had all these crackheads in our neighborhood. They raiding like sneakers, like we see they cleaned the house after the police. That's what I knew. I was like, man, this is some tough living,
for sure.
But I always looked at the resilience, that came from that, man. Once you see a lot and you go through a lot, you have thick skin when it comes down to it. So I looked at the actual technology industry as an industry that is for people who are pretty, either affluent or privileged, or they work really, really hard to be in there. For my mother, she was a woman in technology. You can only imagine her having to lead teams of males and how she had to go through so much. So she built up that same resilience, which ultimately carried over to me. Right. And I think that's one of the biggest things I have to drive credit towards is my mother, plus also the place that I've grown up that taught me really tough times, but also taught me how to be able to survive and utilize your mind and be focused and disciplined. And that just naturally carried over to actually sports for me. So sports was a big thing for me growing up in those particular areas. But I've gone to schools in DeSoto. I remember going to West for a little bit. I got actually, while I was in West, I had like 42 referrals, and they actually sent me to Arturnum School. And then I was in there for like 45 to 90 days. And then I transferred from there, went to Lancaster, got sent to Arturnum School there. So my family was like not having it, bro. They were just like, nah, bro, what are you doing with your life? And it wasn't so much of I was like bad. It was just like, I just don't like people, like I don't like people effing me. If you feel as if like I am a pushover, people are gonna take it. Like they're gonna if you're in those if you're in those tough environments, they're gonna go for it. I'm not like I go through. I've lived in like crazy places, but I don't care. I mean, I don't carry myself, but I'm not trying not to carry myself that way. I just experienced so much, where I don't have to like carry it the traditional way that someone who's from the hood looks like. So people look at it, they're like, oh, I can go for this guy. And when you're in that position, you have to protect yourself a lot. And I was just being the crazy circumstances of like, dang, I didn't got in trouble, now I'm suspended, and my parents are gonna be pissed off at me, and now I gotta go to Arturnum School, and I was just trying to protect myself,
Real quick, now we ain't gonna just skip over that. Now, what was your grandmother and your mother thinking at the time when you was getting all this trouble? Like,
so my grandmother thought like this individual is he's smart, so he's more like kind, like he knows how to get over. He knows how to get what he wants. Right. So manipulate, right? And they were more so like more frustrated because like if they do something to me, I'm able to figure out another way around it. So it put them on edge just as much because they didn't know how to. So it would always be for them as women. It would be like, you need to go with your daddy. Like, go with your daddy.
Go ahead. I done heard that so many times in my life. I'm about to send you back with your daddy.
I'm about to send you back with your daddy. Go with your daddy. You go with your daddy, it's like even worse. So he don't even know. to do at that point. So it's like that's sort of the thought process. They were more so like, I remember my mom actually dropping me off like. She called my pops, and my pops didn't answer the phone. She knew kind of where he stayed in Duncanville, and she was just like, I'm finna drop you off. So she just dropped me off in the street. Like, literally dropped me off in the street, and I was walking all over the place for about 8 hours.
Oh,
and
my.
then I found her, like, she had her truck, and she came and got me. Yeah. And I didn't know where he stayed either, you know? Like, so I'm like, I don't know. Like, you just dropped me off.
That's tough love.
Yeah, no.
I didn't have a phone
I was
either.
like, maybe like 15.
Oh yeah.
Like, so no.
That's tough love right there.
That's tough love.
Did you ever feel misunderstood?
Always. Yeah.
And-
I still feel misunderstood today.
And that's how I can really relate to you, because all my life I felt like I was misunderstood.
Yeah.
From the simple fact that a lot of adults didn't think that you can have your own mind, but
Yeah.
I really credit myself as a young age of having my own ideas in
Yeah.
my own mind. Like I was always the one to question everything.
For sure.
I grew up in the church. I always grew up, you know what I'm saying, this, you know, and I grew up and lived with my grandmother also,
Yeah, yeah.
and, you know, raised in the church, but I always questioned everything.
Yeah.
So a lot of adults looked at it as being defiant, but I just looked at it as me being curious and me
Yeah.
just being adventurous. A lot of people know my story or don't know my story. I had a kid at 15 years old, not because it was a mistake, because I had trauma from my father issues with not having my father around.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I thought that as a 15-year-old, as
Yeah.
crazy as it might sound, I thought that having a family was something that was needed for me, because I
Got
didn't
it.
have a dad. I had
Got
a
it.
sister that had a dad. She always left every summer, and
Got it.
I'm by myself the whole summer,
Right.
and it affected me.
Got it.
So I always felt like the first chance that I got, I was going to make a family at a young age. And it sounds crazy, but I always felt misunderstood, because me being a parent now, if my kid came and said he want to make a baby, he's 15, I'm
Yeah.
like, what the hell?
Yeah, yeah.
But I had to understand that my viewpoint and my parents' viewpoint might
yeah.
not mesh, but it's okay to not understand a child, but it's also our job as men and as potential parents and
Yeah, yeah.
parents to say, okay, let me step into their world. And you talk
yeah.
about that a lot, Lee
Yeah.
Anthony, with your son, to where he's out doing something and you just monitor and watch him like, know what, let me just step into his world and
Yeah,
see what's
for
going
sure.
on in his mind. So I always felt misunderstood with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times, you know, as parents, you know, you can get caught up in the things that you're doing on a day-to-day, like in your life and work and everything that's going on. And sometimes a kid can be raised by whatever they're doing. So whether that's on TV or the cartoons they like or whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
But half the time we don't, you know, like you have to take time to come in their world to see what they're doing, because, you know, that leads a long ways when it comes to
Yeah.
their personality, because
For
I
sure.
think their personality comes from, you know, the things that they do. So how can I understand that, and how do I become a part of that aspect so he can, you know, I can gain that trust, because, you know, once you get your kids trust, they open up to you more.
Yeah,
So, you know,
for
when
sure.
you closed off, then you won't know what's going on.
I can't
They'll
really
probably
relate
hide
to
it
that,
from you.
honestly, because I always had this mentality of like, okay, as a young man, don't show any emotions, don't cry, don't really go tattletale, and I always like suffer internally to myself.
Got it.
And I always spend a lot of time with myself, especially as a young age. 'Cause my sister, when she went out for her father, now I'm just alone all day
for
long
sure.
Yeah.
with a stepfather that, you know, didn't really like me as much. He
Yeah.
loved my mom, but didn't really like me as much. I always like suffered in silence. So I always thought that it was my job as a young boy to be emotionless.
Yeah.
So Danny, my question is to you, because of your story, how did you just learn how to just be yourself and just proceed through your everyday life, just dealing with how you grew up, dealing
Yeah.
with your mom being away as an entrepreneur? How did you learn to cope with that?
Yeah, but before I answer that, I got to go back to this 15-year-old person of Austin and want to have a kid.
For sure.
Were you just like see the girl and you're just like, I want to like go in you and I want to be able to have a kid, or you just like, did you ask permission?
So basically, and a funny story about that. So I was 15, she was 17. She
Okay.
was a junior, I was a freshman.
Got it.
So I was an athlete, she was an athlete, and I had the biggest crush on her. You know, I pride myself in those days being a lover boy, writing your letters and notes, and I never thought she would talk to me, but
Can you give a definition of lover boy? We just had
Yep.
this conversation, me and Brittany. Just
Oh,
a minute, like,
really?
literally,
Certified
just
lover boy.
literally on our way. And she
Okay.
was just like, Danny, you always say people are lover boys. I was like, And she said, "It means you don't want a family." And I'm like, "I doesn't mean it, but I know a lover boy. I know there's a difference of a lover boy."
So my ideal of a lover boy, honestly, it wasn't really from a family standpoint.
Yeah.
It was just from like at those times, I really was infatuated with the ideal of love,
Yeah.
with the ideal of being in love. Like, so I grew up in the R&B era.
Yep.
I used to try to sing and like try to sing the girls and like, you know,
Dance in the rain.
wasn't that extreme, but
yeah.
in those days, I really was infatuated with the ideal of love. You know,
Yeah.
growing up on Love Music, Soul
so
Child, and all those type of things. Like that, if you looked at me at the time, like a lot of people would think like you like that because
Yeah.
I was a bigger kid and I was athlete, but you know, I used to suppress who I really was.
Got it,
I'm naturally a nerd.
Got
A lot
it.
of people don't even know that about me.
Yeah, for sure.
I am an introvert for one. A lot of people don't even know that,
Yeah.
and I love being by myself. That's why me and my wife work because she's also introverted, and
Yeah.
we can just be in the same house, be in
Yeah.
two different
It's
places,
yeah.
and it works.
I feel that.
and it works for us. But my definition of a lover boy, I was just infatuated with the ideal of love. I didn't really know what it meant then, honestly, but I was just infatuated with just being with somebody and we just having a relationship.
Got it.
You know what I mean? Because growing up, you wasn't really going through that many relationships.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's be honest. So
For sure.
she was my, I guess, first real girlfriend,
Yeah.
and I was just infatuated with it. And me not having a father, I thought in my 15-year-old mind at the time, I said, you know
That
what?
makes sense.
I want to have a family because
it.
this is what I'm lacking.
This is what
you know what I
like.
mean?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you for that. To answer your question in regards to like how do I sustain like the person that I am?
For sure.
I think from my perspective, I've always just been different. So I've gotten to a point to where I'm like okay with being different now.
Yeah,
like, where it's just like
I have
it
to be
doesn't.
accepted,
And
yeah.
I'm speaking in regards to the confidence now every single day of being accepted and being of
sure.
value, right?
For sure.
I always told myself, like, even when I was in college and University of Texas at San Antonio, I knew I was just as awkward. And even
Sure.
with my friends still talk about me today of how weird I am in regards to sayings that I have and things that I do. But they still accepted me as a friend of theirs.
Right.
And
For sure.
we've had
Yeah.
these friendships for so many years, you know, from high school to college. And I think from my perspective, understanding that it's okay to be different. And if you think about, you know, brands right now or the next rapper or the next artist,
Sure.
you see the most different person gets the most, you know, traction. And so I ultimately look at it as like, you know, I can probably be like the nerd nobody knows, but maybe I may have a capability of having a personality that individuals they really fuck with, right? With the perspective of knowledge. And when you bring on individuals on your actual podcast, yeah, they have knowledge and they also have followings. And so now it becomes cool because individuals are looking and seeking for knowledge. So I just got to a point where I didn't want to change my personality because my personality fit me. And even in college, as I stated, I was interacting with so many individuals from, you know, frats to sororities to that. When I was in my aha moment in college was being at a cafeteria and saying, as an entrepreneurial major, and saying, what is going to be my business? And at that point, I said, every day, like, what is going to be my business? And at the actual table, I seen one of my teammates and was like, hey, you know, my console is broken. And at that point, I had a light bulb. I was just
Wow.
like, if I can fix this console, I can only imagine how many other individuals on campus that I can fix this console and I can actually make some capital. So, but I didn't know how to fix the console. So, like, I guess from my perspective, I looked at it as like, ultimately being the one that's different and being able to go and challenge that actual notion that this is my passion and I'm okay with being the geek that fixes everyone PCs and consoles, and then being able to take the learning lessons from that to be able to drive a business that's of value to individuals. And so at that point I started recognizing quickly that I'm okay being myself. And you know, and if it's appreciated, it's appreciated. If it's not, it's not. But I've grown with the perspective that I have a lot of core and really good friends and family and individuals who support me. So I don't feel as if like I have to change who I am. I feel as if like, if anything, I'm going to inspire somebody to be who they are.
And and I definitely like how you said that, man. It sounds like from a young age you've grown secure in yourself, and I think a lot of times the younger generation is influenced, and they don't really know who they are. They usually subside to what they feel is more popular, or if they don't fit in, then I got to go this route. But they never stay true to themselves, and I like how you said that because you stayed true to yourself, and in the midst of that, you found your purpose. You found your why. Maybe you didn't know the how.
I didn't know how.
But I guess the how became easy over time. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to say, man, I like how you definitely like how you said.
I always take a problem when people. What does awkward mean? I don't even know what that really means. Like I know what people use it and how like the context they use it, but like
status quo.
I can tell you.
Tell me what you think that awkward means.
Awkward is like if you're in a group with individuals talking and you just bring up things that most people wouldn't bring up that you're thinking about that would be super curious and insightful for you to be able to know. You can take that data, but it may not be as palatable for everyone else. Right. And it would be like, oh, you just said something, all the girls out of the room left. Or that of you just said something and this person wants to beat you up now because you just said this, you offended this individual.
We all a little awkward. If that's the definition.
We're awkward. So that's my awkward. My awkwardness is like my friend saying, "Hey, all right, Danny, we're about to go in this room. Make sure you leave your questions to a minimum, and then at that point, just be cool, because they know that I'm going to be the one that's asking the questions, being engaged, and probably doing some things I may have said, some things I may have not said that is not as cordial when you're in
all that means is that, you know what I mean, and for lack of better terms, those people might not fit your tribe. Yeah. And I really believe that, and here's the reason why, because I was popular in high school. Well, at least I would like to think, in my mind now, thinking years ago in high school, I was popular, but I was always, if that's the case, a little awkward, nerdy. No one ever knew that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the one thing that really drew me to Sierra was she was called awkward in school. She ate lunch in the bathroom by herself. Because she had no friends or people thought she was awkward. She befriended teachers more so than her peers simply because of the status quo around school. And, and it always really bothers me and bring me to a place to where I always I don't condemn people, especially young adults, kids, because you don't know no better.
You just don't know any better,
It always bothers me when people say that because I feel like everybody's not for you. Everybody's not meant to be your tribe or your type of people. And I just feel like a lot of times as young adults growing up, we grow up with this ideal of what's acceptable, what's popular, and we try to fit that status quo.
For sure.
And when I hear people talk about that, it always brings me back to a time because I had a friend of mine that I always used to get bullied, and I used to always stick up for him, and it was because of some of those things because he didn't fit in. So when people used to see me hanging around, they're like, why are you hanging around this guy? Or, things of that nature. But I always felt compassion for people that was able to be who they really were. And didn't hide because I was the guy opposite. I was hiding who I really was, just trying to fit in a status. So with that being said, what advice for young kids or young adults that don't even know who they are? What is the best advice that you can give someone that's just trying to figure out how to proceed in life? You know what I mean? Do they go to what's popular or do they just be themselves? And how do you navigate through that?
I think it's more so of trying multiple things, having the confidence to try multiple things. If you think about parents in affluent areas, what they do, they put their kids in tennis, football, track, rugby, karate,
taekwondo,
and then from that point they allow their actual son and daughters to identify themselves within that. They'll figure out which ones they want. So the best advice that I would tell individuals is have the confidence to know that you may not be good in one thing, but you don't have to be the best. You're taking something in that actual skill and you're putting it in your satchel. And then the most successful individuals in the world have a lot in their satchel. It's like the games of Harvest Moon or games that you would play that you have to put everything's in your inventory. And then when you come across, you got some radishes.
Right. You got to put these things together or
you can
go sell it for these things.
You got some potions.
For sure.
And things like that. that, you know.
for sure.
I would say that to a young individual, just focusing on having a collective of skill sets that you can have in your satchel as the life is tough and it allows you to be able to survive easier.
That's dope.
So don't feel as if like you have to be the best of the best. Put yourself in environments
Yeah.
that allows you to be able to say, hey, I may not be the best of this, but there's something about this that's going to help me when I need it.
Yeah.
Whether that's confidence, critical thinking, professionally speaking,
Right.
understanding how to do math, how to build a fire, you know, how to run, and in case you have to run on the field or you have to run in the streets. You
Right.
know, putting yourself in an actual environment where you're developing a satchel of skill sets. So therefore, when the apocalypse happens, you can be prepared.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. For sure.
So that would be the best advice I can give a
Hey,
young
trust
individual.
me, if the world ever turned into The Walking Dead, Danny, I'm coming to your house.
Okay, bro.
I know he's got an arsenal.
What the fuck?
Hey, you got the new zones that climb buildings.
I walked in this building and said, hello. I'm waiting for Austin.
Me too now.
Nah, man.
Oh man.
Man, that's dope. Hey, Liz, I got a question for you because I know me knowing you, and I don't think we ever talked about this on the show.
Okay. dope.
Okay.
I know you went through a big weight loss journey, and you always were the chubbier kid growing up, or whatever the case may be. How did you deal with that? Did people make fun of you, and how did you? Because from me personally, just always knowing you, and I could be wrong. Like you always have this undoubtable confidence. And I'm talking about when I first met you in college. Like I was like, who is this big bowling ball?
Yeah,
dude?
big ball.
smiling ear to ear with the most confidence in the world. Where did that come from?
Bro, I really didn't have confidence, bro. I didn't have confidence at all, but I knew how to
fooled me.
protect that weakness that I had with my outer shell. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I used to get fired up. That's what we say back in
fired up.
Oakland too.
Yeah.
I said, hey, I'm about to fire you up, bro. I knew how to get back with people. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't necessarily had that confidence, but I was like, okay, well, I'm finna get back at you.
Yeah.
The same way you trying to get me, I'm gonna get you. But like as a kid, bro, I was a chubby one, bro. You know, I don't know. I just learned how to be who I was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily the confident person, because my confident self would have wanted change within my body and whatever. But you know, the outer appearance was like, cool. Well, you know, you gonna accept me for who I am or not?
Yeah, for
you know
sure.
what I'm saying? So. Yeah, just with that, bro, it's where I gained my confidence. Now, with my weight loss journey, it's a grown version of me, and I just did this last year. I lost like 50 pounds, and I owe it all to him, bro.
Yeah,
I owe it all to him for breaking that barrier to say, like, hey, let's
Go
start.
get it. Yeah,
let's,
for sure.
Let's spark that fire to
Yeah.
start. You know what I'm saying? So now my confidence is exceptional because
Got it.
I've pushed myself to that limit to get a result that I set out to get. Outside of that, like, I think that's where my confidence from is saying that this is something that you can do, or if you want change, you can go for that change. What about you, bro?
Me personally, I always been very confident. I just been a little bit. I used to put on a mask. I used to act like this, but when I go home and I'm turning on the cartoons, I'm playing video games, and I'm just being like to myself. You know what I mean? I had lots of friends, but my friends be like, "Hey, let's go do this." And I'm like, "All right, yeah, let's do it." Then like on the last minute, I'm like, "Oh, I got something to do," but in all actually, I'm at home playing video games and watching cartoons.
Yeah.
Like
Understandable.
that was my comfort zone, and like that's kind of how I dealt with a lot of things by myself. But I always used to put on a mask. Like
Got it.
I always was confident simply because I always felt like that people had it worse than me. Situations growing up and everything. So I never really got to a point where I was like, well, I'm not the guy that no one likes.
Yeah.
It was obviously opposite, but I was the guy that felt better being left alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I just learned how to hide and cope with things differently. You know what I mean? So
For sure.
that's how I was able to kind of like navigate through life, because I was very manipulative,
Yeah, for
manipulative too. Also, because I know how to get what I want, and I know
for
how
sure.
to
Persuasive.
Yeah,
persuade and
persuasive,
get
right.
by. You know what I mean? So
Charismatic.
yeah. So I always use that to my advantage, and that's what oh, you're very charismatic. But in all actuality, I always use that to my advantage to
Yeah,
like
for sure.
be manipulative.
Yeah.
So. If you're watching this, or anybody ever manipulated back in the day, please forgive me. I'm a changed person. Yeah. And I'm married now, so.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
You about to edit
But
this?
yeah, now you can edit it. Yeah, but no, so that's hard back with exposure.
Yeah.
So you was in college.
Yeah.
You was you say you ran track, right?
Yeah, I did. I ran track.
What did you run, by the way?
Yeah, I ran 400, 800. 800 was the main
Oh, my
one.
God. So you
cross
distant.
country. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I remember going to track in our first practice at UTSA. I went to Lancaster. I graduated from Lancaster, so they were known pretty track.
Yeah.
And first time getting on campus, UTSA, our first practice was running 10 miles in,
Oh, my God.
in 1 hour. Right, so that's 6 minutes a mile.
I'm tired now.
Yeah. So in this instance, I remember like first practice, he was like, if you can't make this time, you're cut. Because we're going to see what you're doing over the actual break.
Yeah.
And that was a moment when I was like, I'm introduced to a whole other realm of actual athletics. And I remember throwing up while I'm running. Now seven, like,
Still
Bro,
chugging.
yeah,
along.
kept going.
chugging. Yeah, oh, heck yeah. Like,
Man, boy,
man,
keep
I was
going.
just like, man, this is the hardest practice I've ever had in my life, But yeah, I ran cross country to help enhance my 800 capabilities, because when you run an 800, you got to be a beast, because you got to go fast as well as you got to sustain fast for a longer period of time outside of just running one lap. And
So let's kind of pivot. Now I'm going to get into that a little later. I want to talk about the mentality that it takes to be disciplined enough to not only run fast, but to run a distance. Because I know when I used to run track or try to run track, you know what I'm saying? You know they're saying that the monkey on your back?
Yeah,
the monkey be
that
on my back
monkey.
early. Early. I'm talking about I ain't even got halfway through. I'm just like, Coach, come get me. But talk about that mentality that it takes and that discipline that it takes to go through that. Like a lot, because listen, it is not a small feat. There's people not out here saying that I go run 800. Now people might lift some dumbbells, little curls, and get on the Stairmaster, but people ain't out here doing that. Even a lot of kids. So talk about what it takes to keep pushing, like the mentality of that.
This was a really good segue, because my mental strength comes from running. And when you think about it, when I was in college, I was running about 100 miles a week, right? And when you're running that long at that amount of pace, you don't have nothing to do but think, because you're like, I want to stop now. So you're thinking about everything that you don't have to think about stopping now.
Right.
Yeah.
You're thinking about food. You're thinking about your life. You're thinking about like all kind of things, just to like strengthen your mind so you don't think about stopping. You know.
Sure.
And that's how I look at business. I think marathon running and cross country and 800 have helped me mentally be able to control my own mind, because I get up in the morning at 5 o'clock and run about 2 to 3 miles every morning. And I like to run outside. So no matter the hills or anything, for me, I like to get up, whether it's really cold, whether it's hot. I look at that as like running at 2 miles and at approximately like 7 minutes to 7:30 per mile. Running that, it pushes me to a level of like, I get to know how disciplined I was. I get to know that food I ate last night, like I ain't gonna do that. If I drunk too much over the night, I'm like, oh man, I'm finna feel this. And also you're pushing yourself to a point to where you got to go take a shower and get back to work. You got to go to work in the morning. So then I tell myself while I'm at work, like, what was harder that I'm experiencing at work? That was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and pushing your body over 2 miles,
Yeah.
So I always look at that as trying to figure out ways that I can actually wake up and actually do the hardest thing of the day. So therefore everything else that I'm experiencing in the day is not as hard, So I think I look at track and running as one of the things that's kept my mind so strong. Because it really has.
I want to kind of like dissect that a little bit more, because I was listening to David Goggins, and he was saying something, and I might be butchering it, but he was saying that a lot of times it's not that he necessarily want to do it, but it's like a necessity.
Yeah.
And he called it facing or fighting or facing his demons during that time when he's on these long mile runs.
Yeah.
He says that every day that you should go visit pain. And what he means by that every day that you go visit that trauma or that things that's like setting you back or holding you back, or that bad time when somebody picked on you to the time that you didn't get that job, every day go visit that pain.
For sure.
And then you learn how to be comfortable with it to like get past it. So
past it.
I just want to like talk about that, because I'm on the Stairmasters. It ain't by no means, you know what I'm saying, no 3-4 miles, but I know when I'm up there, it do get challenging, and all I'm doing is thinking.
Everybody levels is different.
And all I'm doing is thinking, but I ain't thinking about no food or nothing. I'm thinking about, man, I gotta get up off here. So
how long it been? 5 minutes. I got an hour.
I got an hour. So talk about going to that. Do you go to like a deep, dark place, or is it just like, okay, I'm just thinking about everything just to get this going? Because you alluded to throwing up and why you was running just to make that time. Like me, I would have quit. I'm like, man, I threw up. I'm going home. Talk about that place that you literally have to go mentally to like get through that.
I think now, as being in business, as an older individual that now runs a company, when I do run now, I think about the times where I'm like, do the give up moments. Like, all right, it was hard to make rent this month. You know, I tell myself, if I get through this 2 miles in the morning, I'm like, and I don't slow down, I'm like, okay, if I didn't slow down on this 2 miles to end that 2 miles, I can make rent. You know, I can mentally like know that it's not hard to make. I can't be on myself like, oh my gosh, it's so hard to make rent right now or pay payroll. You know, I'm like, I got through that 2 miles. Like anything else out of that, I can get through.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
So I start to think about things that I'm going through in business or as a family. Like I feel as if like I can get through that actual, like, you know, Brittany is on me all the time about, you know, being a cared person in regards to family and marriage and intimacy.
Shout out to Brittany.
Shout out to Brittany. All right, like, you know, like things that I grew up so hard where it's almost like you are almost like a ghost or a.
People think you're unemotional towards a lot of stuff. Yeah,
and I'm just like, I'm sorry, you know, like, you know, like I'm trying, and but I look at it as like things I have to work on. So I tell myself, if I can get through that 2 miles, you know, I think about like, get through this 2 miles because you're about to go through this and you got to get through it. And if you can't get through this 2 miles, then what you think you're going to get through this other one? So I try to mentally challenge myself to know like, all right, I do have the mental servitude to be able to get through this, and the other thing is going to be mentally easy to get through.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like how you said that. And like when it comes to your family and aspect, I know it's like the business is very demanding.
Man. Super demanding.
Everything is demanding as far as like things outside of business as well. So when you have family and business, how do you find time to balance both of them? Because sometimes one can outweigh the other. And, you know, sometimes you might be losing on the family side. Like, I got to get to y'all. So I think it's like a sacrifice in a sense. But how do you find balance within
And
that?
before you answer that, I just want to kind of just say, I don't believe that there's a balance. And I know a lot of people say work-life balance. I don't really believe in that because there's a full-time entrepreneur and a full-time family guy. You just gotta just get stuff done, and it's not really like a time to where, for me in our life, okay, well here's 5 hours a week here. You just have to get it done when you can get it done at the time you need to get done, and it's sometimes it's not on your accord. So me personally, I don't believe in the whole work-life balance as a full-time entrepreneur. I just think that you just make time when you can. And, you know what I mean? Sure. That's just me though.
Yeah, and I actually I would also agree with that. I think as an entrepreneur, the thought process in regards to work-life balance is just like out the window. Just due to the fact that you have to, and particularly in my industry, I'm creating the industry, so I'm creating the blueprint for somebody else. Like I don't have a blueprint.
Architect of the future.
Architect. So like at this point, it's like I'm trying to figure it out, and also I'm bringing along my family to try to figure it out just as much.
Right.
So ultimately, from my perspective, it's like the hard part is that the family says you should, you know, spend more time. But also at the same instance, it's like if I spend more time, then we're gonna be looking for some somewhere to stay. You know. So I think when it comes down to it, it's like this is I have to just be more of an educator and a teacher and a communicator to say, hey, this is what we're doing right now, and it takes a lot of time, but also a actual innovator and a thought leader to say, if we do this right now, here's where it's going to actually pan out to be. So really you have to spend, and I've come across some of the best leaders and entrepreneurs that when they lead their company, they're able to say, here's where our company is going over this course, this Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5, and they're giving straight details in regards to it. So at this point, their tribe is able to follow them through because they're able to say, here's where we're going. As a CEO myself, I'm working on that. And I'm working on that not only with my team, but also with my family, who's also a part of our team, right? And so from my perspective, that work-life balance becomes so much difficult because they're right involved with it. So it's almost like, I don't want to let you guys down, so I got to go do this right now. You know, like I just spoke to you guys on the elevator, like, we've been in Philly like on 3 weeks, and I haven't even been home. I'm feeling like I got to get home right now, you know. And the thing about it that it's easier for us is that, and I know you guys have a family. It's kind of easier for us, and I always think about what individuals have to do that's harder. It's like we don't have any kids just yet, right? We're going to have kids here soon, but we don't have any yet. So I'm able to afford the opportunity to go and spend all of this time. But at the same sense, Brittany wants a family. She wants kids, so she's like, when is it going to when is it going to stop? You ready? So I think, so that pressure is still there, which is understandable for anybody, you know. But I always look at it from the perspective of like, I'm trying to create something. We're trying to create something that is generational wealth. Like I look at it as like, I'm looking at it as like, I'm going to put in this time right now. We have this data that's proven that we're not doing anything crazy. The industry is growing by leaps and bounds right now. So I look at it the perspective is that if I am inspired by a VC like Peter Thiel or Elon Musk, they can actually take their companies, sell their companies for billions of dollars, and then use that money to invest in other companies. My chill point is going to be selling my company and then going and investing in other individuals.
Helping other people.
Particularly in our community. If I come from a community of struggle and I'm able to sell my company for X amount of millions of dollars, there's somebody else in that community can do the exact same thing, if not better. So I want to have the resources to go and actually invest in that individual and find another and invest and find another and invest. And at that point, I would have like work-life balance. I'll be just watching them. I'll be like, hey, I made an investment and it hit 3X or 7X multiples.
And sometimes being not only the CEO, but being a leader, not only of your family, but of your business, sometimes it just takes the person that's, a workaholic, a person that sees the vision to just be at the forefront. Because a lot of times, a lot of people are not going to understand what you're going through and what you're trying to accomplish, but they respect it because they see the hardworking person you are. Every time I'm on social media, this dude's somewhere else in another state. On the go. You know what I mean? So I know that you're working hard, you and your team and your family. So I mean, I really appreciate just being around like-minded individuals that also share that, because people don't know. We work from home, but it's not like we at home just sleep. Every day, 24 hours a day is planning, putting stuff together, meetings, production, doing so much. And it's like, I was telling Sierra the other week, like I need to try to do something with the kids, for the kids, because a lot of time we're just here working, and it's like literally work. It's not like, okay, we plan. We're working all day long. So my question to you, Danny, do you think your work ethic stems from your mother and how she used to travel, be gone? And I know you said that you didn't really realize it then. Is it like embedded in your DNA from seeing what she did?
Yeah, it's also embedded in my DNA, but I'm also terrified of shit from it. Sorry for my French. But in this instance, my mom did never see me. So I'm traveling and I'm experiencing a lot of things. So at the end of the day, I'm frightened to not see my kids, So I'm like kind of cautious on who I bring into the world, because I know how much I'm traveling, how much I'm engaged with. So I'm almost like I experienced not being around my family to the point where I was pretty good at athletics, and my family never came to a game ever in high school, and I was in college running D1 athletics, and my parents never came to a track meet. The only time my mother came to visit me in school was my graduation and when I tore my ACL running track.
Wow.
And I'm just used to that. Like I went with the perspective of that, nobody is going to support me, and even though I see somebody else getting support from their family or their coach and their dad, I was always like, dang, like I can get an accolade, and my coach or somebody outside of my family was like, good job, but my family had no idea,
Right.
And I look at that because they were just so busy. So for me being in a busy state right now, I feel as if like I would know automatically how my kid would feel. So in this instance, I'm more so like, let me see if I can, win the lottery with the perspective of like being so diligent in what we're gonna do, and then ultimately having the time to be able to spend. Because I think it matters. Because it's kind of made me really cold, because I'm more so I'm straight to it. Like I was just in San Antonio with friends in college, and and I told him the same sentiment of like, man, I can't wait to like get acquired, or that of and then just kind of be an investor. And he was just like, what, are you crazy? In college you know, you were the money, get go. I never thought you would just chill or relax. So just hearing you say, you know, you want to kind of just relax and do a family, he was shocked. And I was just like, man, I never knew people look at me like that. It's just like straight money, like go. And I was like, damn, I must have been like crazed out when it came down to making money to survive at that point, to the point to where he didn't even recognize this is a whole new individual that's speaking to him. But life is like that. And so from my perspective, it's like, I just want to be able to ultimately say, this is an opportunity for me to be able to have time for my family.
And I want to talk about marriage, because marriage is a very interesting topic. Even for me, I'm married, but a lot of people don't know I'm not married a traditional route.
Okay.
Me and Sierra, we believe in marriage wholesomely. One woman, one man, one mind, one body. That's what we believe in. One. But we wanted to take a different route because we believed in being able to see benefits other than just, okay, going to the courthouse, getting his marriage license, and, you know, you have things combined through the state and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We wanted to have control.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, this is just me personally talking, you have more control when you have the say so in how you get things done.
Okay.
So being able to go get things rolled up in court with lawyers based on what you all want from day one.
For sure.
That is something that we take pride in, because we have control over that. And that's
like
something that
prenup?
it's pretty much like that,
Got
but you know what I mean. But it's just like we built everything together. So if it'll never happen, you know, speak words and affirmation. But like if we ever were to ever separate, she deserves half of everything.
Sure. Got it.
She was with me when I first started my trucking business when she didn't even know a lick about business. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 21 years old, and I jumped into it early. I bought my first truck at 21 as soon as I got my license.
Got it.
I jumped in head first, made a lot of mistakes, but I ended up growing it, and I ended up meeting her, and she ended up helping me build it, from even helping me get the driver loads, helping me like just maintain the business. So she understands that if anything ever happened, she would most definitely be right to half everything. And same now, like she's more so the breadwinner now. I remember when we first started trying to like be educators and teachers online, when she first made her first like $5,000 in like 2 days, just off of being able to teach. I'm just like, I'm busting my butt in the oil field with my own truck for months, and I'm struggling to make that because high liability, high overhead, and just like I'm struggling to bring in $2,500. You know what I'm saying? Week, which is, you know what I'm saying, good in a lot of people's standpoint, but like I'm supposed to be making like anywhere from 8 to 10. You know what I'm saying? With these trucks, but I saw the shift. So I invested everything in her. I sold everything and say, you know what, let's do it. You know what I mean? I didn't have no plan. We didn't even know if it was going to really work, but we believed in the shift was coming. So I just believe in a marriage. I believe just having control of you all's own destiny versus having someone to, you know, say, hey, well, since you have this license, marriage license, now you're legally obligated. I know there's all kind of prenuptial agreements, but there's a lot of loopholes too. For all my young people, there's a lot of loopholes. So what do you all think about marriage? I know, Lee Anthony, you were married early and you are currently divorced. How old are you?
29.
29. What age did you get married?
I got married at 24.
24. And you're divorced.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of talk from a standpoint of me being married, but not the traditional way. You was married and being divorced, and you being like coming into it. Like, I want to kind of give me y'all thoughts on that, because this is going to be very interesting.
Man, just being married. Man, being married before being married young, I just think that I think marriage is a beautiful thing, right?
Sure.
I think I love a family union because, like you said, I grew up on old school music. If you listen to it, then you know what
Johnny Taylor.
What love is. Yeah, Johnny Taylor. Who else you got, bro? Jodeci. I like the 90s, bro. I like the 90s for sure. H-Town, all them. But you know, marriage is definitely a good thing. But at the same time, you really have to go in it with good intentions and being intentional about the things and how the relationship is going to progress, right? So yeah, you can be boyfriend and girlfriend all day long, but once you put certain titles and certain contracts in place, right now, I think that changes a lot of dynamic, and sometimes, just from my experience, I think things change along the way when y'all both not on the same page with things that you're doing, you know. So, you know, kind of in my previous marriage, you know, there was some differences that we had that, you know, kind of added more into the pulling away from it
Yeah.
instead of bringing it closer.
I got one interesting question because this is it just popped in my head because during COVID time was when y'all kind of started to separate. And this is just an analogy. You tell me if I'm wrong or right, or just tell me to shut the hell up. You know, COVID really brought people in the same household because, you know, on a regular basis.
Yeah, no, I know
Y'all
exactly
work
what
9
you
to
mean.
5 jobs, so y'all see each other for like
Yeah.
a portion of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Did COVID
Yeah.
Did COVID change since y'all was around each other 24 hours a day for like a year? Did y'all realize,
Bro.
like, I love you, but I don't really like you that much?
Bro.
I mean, like, just tell me from your point
I'm
of
gonna
view.
tell you this, bro. It's a certain time you can sweep stuff under the rug, bro. You can deal with things for a few hours every day, right?
Right.
You go to work,
Right.
Yeah, you go to work, you come home. All right, cool. 2 hours, we finna go to sleep anyway. So next day we get to it. But then COVID, and then you like, I work from home, and I'm at home all the time, and we both here.
Yeah.
So now we gonna have to deal with this rug that we sweep all the stuff under. Come on, bring it to the front. Oh, it's too much? It's too much to sweep under there? Well, you know what I'm saying? So I just think that's what COVID did for a lot of people, bro. It said, come deal with all these
Come deal
problems
with
that,
all it,
that you've been masking this whole
Yeah,
time.
Right.
And if you can't deal with them, then,
Yeah.
you know, figure out a solution.
Figure out a solution. You have to make some business moves with that.
Yeah.
I think for us, it's like, I feel like we've been in COVID from our existence.
Right,
you know,
right.
the
Yeah,
time we
yeah.
met each other,
Right.
because I've just been naturally in business.
Right.
And Brittany, when she met me, you know, she was working at a essentially a 9 to 5, and then not quite, you know, shortly after that, she started working with us in our,
For sure.
in our company. And I run a company with my mom is our CTO.
For sure.
She runs our whole technological platform, and our
Nice.
developer. She develops our technological elements, and then Brittany's our chief operating officer. So there's an element to where we are focused in on making sure that we are cordial amongst our team and our staff, because we are family still,
Yeah.
you know. And Brittany has been introduced to that actual world, and ultimately, from our perspective, is like I'm around here every day, all day.
Yeah.
It's like, and for years.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, not-
so
yeah.
ultimately it allows us to know how strong we are together.
sure.
Right.
For
So,
sure.
you know, just being able to know, like, I see you in every moment, and
Right.
she probably is tired of my guts, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, I respect the element when you stated
sure.
that, you know, from a marriage, putting that title on, because for me, it's like, you know, I have my trauma in life in regards to, you know, my parents being divorced, and a lot of my friends that I'm engaged with, they don't have families that have been together for a long time. So from my perspective, it's like I look at data points. I'm very stats driven, and mentally I don't speak out it a lot to individuals, but internally I am very, and I'm looking at it as like, if I have 10 friends and one of them have been married for all day,
Yeah,
or 9
yeah.
of them have been divorced, I'm
Right.
like, I'm a little nervous.
Higher
you know?
probability,
High
yeah.
probability. Why would I need to go get married at this
Right,
point? It
yeah.
seems like
Right.
it's not working at this
Right.
point. Right.
What's
so I need
going
to
on?
figure out some
Yeah.
Right.
elements. Maybe it's me, maybe it's her, maybe it's life, maybe
Right.
it's just, you know, circumstances. And so for me, I'm a little bit more cautious when it comes. And Brittany's like, you know, you be making fast decisions on everything else. You know, you should have made a fast decision. You know?
Pressure again, look,
Yeah,
pressure.
And, you know, it's warranted. You know,
Right,
I get it. I
right.
understand it, you know, from her perspective. And I ultimately look at it as like, I don't want to be the person that she looks at as like, dog, you just took advantage of my life, you know.
Right.
But I also want to add value to the life. But I also have to deal with my demons and my trauma that I've experienced in my life. And I'm trying to do the best that I can to be able to work on that. So transparently for me, I look at it as like I'm a work in progress.
Right.
And I do things where I feel is comfortable. And I think a lot of things for me is like I feel comfortable when, you know, I'm able to make, you know, a good amount of capital that I can say, hey, my grandchildren and my children, they're
They set.
good. And ultimately, I'm able to have the time to actually spend. Like, shit, I want to be like Mark Cuban. I really want to own an esports team and
For
just
sure.
go to matches and be on the court side
For
and
sure.
just cheer on my team and drive the
sure.
valuation, because I'm a public figure on that
For
court,
sure.
right? So now people want to be a part of my team because the actual owner is cool.
For sure.
You
Yeah,
know? So now
exactly.
your valuation is dope as shit. So
Yeah.
now, like, I look at it from that perspective where I want to do that, you know? But right now we're in grind mode, and that life is not as easy as what individuals will think. because I am with my significant other every day, every hour. So we have to spend more time understanding each other very
That's a fact.
fast and being cooperative amongst each other, or else we will blow up quick. You know,
Right, and I can tell that, you know what I'm saying, like that's a very genuine sentiment that you said, because at the end of the day, you have your traumas, but to kind of shine a light on maybe how she feels about it, there's no such thing as perfect timing. And you know that. Like things that probably happened that were supposed to happen that might have been faster or slower, and a lot of times it just missed to happen that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't believe in perfect time. I just believe in able to achieve it and get shit done. Because at the end of the day, if you were to get married now, the only thing is going to change is the title. Like y'all live together, be together every day.
but he just stated that his title changes everything.
Title.
In certain
feeling
circumstances,
that, like-
it does change a lot of things, because with that title, and it just depends on
Yeah.
how y'all structure your
Yeah, yeah.
relationship. You know what I'm saying?
For
Like,
me, I don't feel the title will change anything, but for her, title will change everything. Like I'm learning right now from her perspective, it's like if that title is there, she will feel more how would you
Secure.
say? Secure,
For sure.
More willing to listen and like more like chill because that security is there.
Right.
And I'm more so like, we're gonna see, you know, when it
Yeah.
happens. Like we're gonna see when it happens. But I also want to see when it happens because it actually makes it much more pleasurable. More like, dog, you really like this. Marriage is this big for you, and this is something I just didn't grow up in. You know, so if you grew up in that actual element, then I'm trying to learn just as much because it could be really, really beneficial when it comes down to having that title. That title could be very important to the next individual.
My
And
only rebuttal to that, and I like to say this a lot, two things can be true at the same time. Like there's two sides to a coin, heads and tails, the same coin, but it's essentially the same thing. I feel like at the end of the day, titles only change relationships or the status of a relationship if you do. And what I mean by that, point in case, if you're dating someone and let's say that your intentions was to get married one day, that person is already your wife. If you've been together 10 years, a title doesn't change that.
Yeah, for sure.
It does. It can if you change it mentally in your mind, but like title shouldn't change that because at the end of the day, this is going to be the same person. I think we get too caught up in the title game of, okay, now I'm a wife, so now I'm going to do this. It's not a switch. Like there's not a
Say that again
biological,
one more time. Say that one more time.
it's not a switch.
It ain't a switch,
You know what I
right?
mean? I mean, if we together
Sorry,
this
but-
long, and this is just my disclaimer. This is just my thoughts. You know, not
Disclaimer.
anyone else's. But honestly, if you are together that long, it's gonna be what it is. Like a title shouldn't change it. But with that being said, I feel like that if we all operate in one mind, one body, one sound on a solid foundation, I think more people wouldn't think of it like that. And it comes from that sense of security because from a woman's standpoint, I can understand that, okay, I'm his wife, so now I am secure. So I'm not against it, but I just think that it's not a switch. It's not a magical, biological switch that okay, now I'm a husband, so now I'm going to start acting accordingly. No, like we have to at least do that now to even figure out we want to go do this for the long term.
much
Right.
so.
So that's just my point on that and my only rebuttal.
My nervous part is like, you know, if it is become a switch that one flips on, then I feel like I'm nervous because I'm gonna be a horrible person. It's like if it's a flip, if it's a switch, you just get married. I got a lot of stuff to work on.
Yeah.
I can't switch. It just smashes that switch. Just hit me. So like I think I'm more like, damn, I'm more scared because I'm like, damn, I'm not gonna change because I'm like doing it every day. I'm progressing over time.
For sure.
You know, I don't have a switch because I'm
not a robot.
I look at it like
robot.
I look at it like a role though. Like if you ever had a 9-to-5 or a job, you know, if you were just a frontline worker or you were a manager, right? That title holds significance in what what the relationship is. But I think I don't know. We really didn't have. I didn't have an example of what marriage was. You know what I'm saying? That's just what I wanted.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't anything to say like. Oh, your mom been married. My mom and dad never been married.
Yeah.
I don't think my grandparents were married. You know what I'm saying? So I never really had that that example, but I wanted to break that mold. I always wanted to be the person in my family to break certain barriers.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? So marriage for me was a barrier that I wanted to
Interesting.
break. Like,
Very much.
why does nobody want to get married? Like, what's so bad about it when I find out? Like,
Back to what Danny said, being very analytical. I got 10 friends ain't married, so it probably. But
add me to that list.
but you can be over analytical. I just want to be
can,
clear
you can, you
because a
definitely
lot of
can.
times, like when we're calculating, and yes, like I'm a numbers guy too. Like
Yeah.
women lie, men lie, numbers ain't gonna lie to
Yeah,
you.
for
So
sure.
I get it, but at the end of the day,
Sometimes you
I
gotta jump
believe
out
that
there.
you have to.
Yeah.
You never knew that you was gonna be successful until
Yeah.
you jumped out there
Until
and
you
did
jumped
it.
out there.
So that I kind of use that as a reference to my point.
That's true, though.
To say that a lot of times a lot of things are not going to be on our time, and a lot of
Yeah.
things are not going to be perfect. But we just
Yeah.
have to be able to believe that it is, and we have to go for it.
Yeah.
That's the definition of manifestation.
for
You know what I
sure.
mean? You might not be doing it now, but you believe that you're gonna get there.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that I'm gonna be a multimillionaire, potentially billionaire, because of my
Yeah.
thought process. Because I festered it here. Now I have to
Yeah.
manifest it into reality. That's what I believe in
Yeah,
since
yeah.
I was a young kid. Keep in mind, a 15-year-old with a child.
Yeah, for
a
sure.
college dropout,
For sure.
a dude that's just working these dead end jobs, getting fired for every single job that I had. I got fired from.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to statistically be where I am because of
Yeah.
the things stacked up against me, but I always believe that okay, this is going to work because this is what I want. So, a lot of people listening right now to our viewers that's going to listen to this. You have to be able to believe in yourself and believe in your
sure.
mission, and you have to execute that. It starts in your mind. A lot of people don't understand that you are who you are already because you visualize it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I know for a fact, here soon I'm gonna be ripped up with a 6-pack. That's what I believe in my mind because I see it. I can vividly see it, and I believe that I'm gonna be able to get my family generational wealth. I'm gonna be able to get a mansion
Right.
and a estate and live in a penthouse and all these different things
Yeah.
that people might not think is obtainable, but it's attainable to me because I don't live in a practical world. Because in my mind, I am who I am, and I can achieve and do anything I want. So if you're listening to this right now, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to manifest everything that you want into reality. That's it. So
And don't be afraid to put yourself in rooms that you are uncomfortable in. There's a term that's pretty heavy. It's called imposter syndrome, and people deal with that every day. And I deal with it being an African American in tech and being in a position where if you create a startup, that's of value, and ultimately understanding that I've had the perspective where I think this person who's done a really good job and they don't look like me, but I feel as though I can compete with them. But at the end of the day, I would kind of like
Shy
go
away
into-
from
I
it.
would shy away from
Right.
it with the perspective of like, I shouldn't be in this room anyway. Imposter syndrome is really real. But ultimately, one of the things I've loved about content creating is when you actually able to show your brilliance, people support you, and then that can give you a lot of confidence. So when you do walk in that room, you're like, you may not support me, but I got a tribe back home,
Right.
or sometimes even online that can really be able to support me and then let me know I have the confidence to be in this room. And when I think about individuals who are introverts or individuals who may not want to be in front of the actual camera, that's one of the biggest things that saved me is being able to be okay with being able to put myself out there and not being cared what individuals say, because I feel as if like I have something to say. And at the end of the day, when I go into a room, when I'm able to look people in the eye, I feel as if like I also have. It's cool to be on content in the camera and you can't look somebody in the eye. They're not going to question you on it. But
Right.
when you go from the camera, because you get the camera, a lot of people see you, and then when you go in a space, when you go in a reel, like looking at somebody,
Yeah.
if you still have that same confidence, then at the end of the day, that helped you have that confidence.
For sure.
So
Right.
that helps the imposter syndrome perspective. But ultimately, that real element, to get some of the best deals, they're still old school. You got to go, travel,
Face-to-face.
see some
Right.
face to face. You got to like sit there, shake someone's hand, look somebody in the eye, and that's sometimes a lot of individuals' comfortability if they're going to make that partnership with you. So leveraging content allows you to kind of get yourself like out there initially, and then being able to have that confidence to be able to go into a room where people who are just as smart as you, not more, and not feel like you're an imposter. You're not feeling as if like you don't need to be in this actual room, but you deserve to be in this room, and people deserve to hear what you're saying in this room. That's something I would say to individuals that are out there right now. Just put yourself in environments. It's going to be uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, if you're still diligent on your information and your knowledge and willing to share it with individuals, as an educator, sharing knowledge with other individuals is the most empowering thing to help your intelligence.
Right.
Yeah, you get a chance to be able to share something with somebody give you feedback, and you can take that feedback and then actually build your repertoire information. And ultimately, that means you're vulnerable. So that at that point, by your vulnerability, you're able to grow. And then ultimately, when you're able to go into those rooms with other smart people, you don't feel as inadequate.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Definitely.
That's powerful. So with that being said, before we end our show, we like to really just ask you a couple of things.
Yeah.
What was the first moment, Danny? What was the first moment that you believed in yourself?
Yeah.
So and let me give you a little context to that.
I know this.
Not only believe in yourself, but to believe in yourself that you can be doing what you're doing now, because a lot of people don't know, Danny, like what you're doing is not no easy, small feat. There's not a lot of, especially a lot of us that's in this realm, but this is not an easy task, especially for being one of the first ones with the mission and the structure, how you're structuring it. To be the first in that is no easy thing.
Yeah.
When did you know, like, okay, this is real. This can happen.
Yeah.
This can help and change people's lives.
Yeah.
This can change my family. What was that moment when you realized that what you were doing was going to be something impactful and so big?
Super impactful. I don't think I spoke on it a lot in regard, and I want to say I'm humble, then say I am humble by saying this is how humble I am, but I don't give a lot of credit to the actual work that we've done. Even in this podcast, I really even spoke on what we do and who we are as an entity. But I did want to be able to kind of give some context to what we actually done.
The floor is yours.
From this perspective right now, eSposure is a two-facet company. We own an 8,000 square foot esports studio and education center. I'm the only African-American, and as well as our team, only African-Americans that own an esports arena in the world.
Wow.
Right? And in this instance, it gives individuals the opportunity to be able to come in, compete, and be able to showcase their skills from a tangible perspective that helps their portfolios. On top of that, by being in technology, I've actually created an actual technological platform that integrates with schools, 14 districts across Texas, in which can give the actual students opportunities to be able to shine light on the things that they're interested in, like graphic design and videography, production, content creating from this perspective that helps them confidently build their actual portfolio so they can get hired within the actual space. And not going into in depth, when we think about somebody who's good at Fortnite, one of the biggest dynamics of being good at Fortnite is being able to build. Not how many kills you have, but how you're able to protect yourself. When you think about companies that are building like a building like this, that's a skyscraper, and Abu Dhabi and every other place, engineering architectural firms all across the world right now are looking for the skill sets that are being developed with someone who had access to a computer to play Fortnite. So for my goal right now, every day is being able to give students that look like me the opportunities to have access to that equipment, so therefore they can play, so therefore those skills can be shined light on, so therefore they can have the next opportunities to work for that engineering or architectural firm. So from our perspective, we're building a platform for individuals to actively showcase something that they're already passionate in, but they didn't quite know how to actually get into industry. And when you're creating content as you guys do, you're exposing individuals to actual things that they never even thought about: banking, real estate, family, how to balance, all of those things that individuals did not quite have that information. Now you're able to give that information to them so they can be that much better as a citizen in the world, and they can share that that information to other individuals. So from my perspective, I look at it as like having the voice to be able to share insight, but also learning from other individuals that I've impacted, so therefore they can actually share insight to other individuals. So that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me actually inspired. Those are the things that I actually look at when it comes down to just understanding where my North Star is. It's ultimately being able to leverage my skill sets to create a valuable company that allows individuals to be able to live within their means, as well as make capital to feed their families, but also inspire a whole nother generation of individuals to be able to do something that they never even thought about, especially people who look like us in our color. We think about when the perspective of like football players or athletes or musicians. I look at being able to leverage technology as a third option for a student, that they can feel as if like content creating is a good prominent thing to go to. When I think about esports, I think about companies like FaZe Clan. FaZe Clan was the first company to go public. When you think about their actual cap in regards to revenue, 70% of their actual revenue is by way of content creation. It's about the actual individuals that they bring on as a salary. They create content that drives viewerships that they can actually sell sponsorships and marketing towards. But ultimately, the prize purses of winning a tournament is less than 10% of their actual revenue cap. At this point right now, when you think about it, it's like it's not about just playing games and being good at it and winning tournaments. It's more so of content creating to share the actual stories. And you have a fan base of individuals that want to hear your story and that ultimately want to be able to learn from your story, so therefore they can replicate it. And when I think about content creation, that's the ultimate element of individuals who want to get out there to shoot content, no matter if they're doing dishes, no matter if they're cooking the best meal, no matter if they're sharing financial business or even esports. And when it comes down to it, we look at it the opportunity to be able to share our platform with other individuals so they can actually succeed and do as much as they possibly can to impact their community. So that's what keeps us going. That's what keeps me naturally going. But most importantly, I look at it as building the community. Any company that you think about being a part of, they're going to look at the community that you build, whether it's through your followers, whether it's through your actual community reach, whether it's through that of the community that you've built that talks to somebody else and saying, hey, I co-sign that person, right? That means you're in the streets and somebody is like, I mess with this individual because he's a good person or she's a good person. So building the actual community is one of the biggest things that you possibly can have. So that's the most value that you have as an actual entrepreneur, as someone who's looking to go to a 9-to-5, as someone who's looking to go to that company. They're going to look at the community that you build. And sometimes it's about creating content that you're pushing out there for free for individuals so they can know your personality, so they can know what you're about. And ultimately, when you give something to somebody else, you build that community and they mess with you for a long time. And that's your true valuation. And you can take that valuation to any other company out there and they're going to say, wow, this is what you built without me. What can I be able to do if I gave you the resources?
Absolutely.
That's powerful, and that just kind of lets me know that we are on the right track with what we're trying to do. And, we talk off air, we just recently had a conversation about some things, but, it gives me hope just knowing that we're doing the right things. There's things that we definitely need to work on, definitely do, but I know that we're stepping into the right lane because this is our future. Yeah, it's in front of our face. Future, growing up, from my parents' point of view, and even from my own, I never thought that you can literally make a living from making content, playing a game. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's something that's changed my life and the viewpoint of others. So, man, with that being said, man, let me
before you even stop it. I don't know, we probably have time, but
no.
Every company, just from I'm gonna give a real scenario, and then I'm gonna give a scenario around that.
Okay.
We just leaving from a conference where Lenovo, which is one of the largest technology companies in the world. They're prominent, they're number one sales in Asia, and they're looking at getting into the actual United States to actually compete with the Samsungs, the ViewSonics, and such. So for them, they're looking at it as how we don't have a presence in the United States, so we have to find content creators that can actually be able to help us gain more traction in the United States, because we want to be the number one in the United States, just like we are in Asia. Not me, but them. And in this instance, they look at people who are creating content like
Disclaimer,
us.
in case y'all want to come ask him for any money or stuff. He said them, not him.
Disclaimer. Right. They would look for individuals who are creating content around their products. So for them, they'll bring us to that of conventions to be able to speak about what we're doing in the community. And naturally, if we want to be able to tell someone that they're going to succeed in the industry, you have to have this equipment, you have to be able to create content. And if you can create content, you got to have good PCs, you have to have cameras, good audio. And so from their perspective, they can insert themselves in that actual environment that we're speaking to individuals to help them be the best that they can possibly be. And it helps us as an actual company to be able to get sponsorships and dollars from that, because now we can help them sell products. So now they look at their bottom line of, if we partner with this actual company, we're actually going to be able to sell more products than we could, because they have a better authentic aspect in regards to reaching that particular community than we would ever have, because we're new in the United States. So from their perspective, they're going to leverage more resources to be able to have people with voices to be able to help them sell their actual products. So if you're a content creator, think about the dynamics of being able to create content around an audience, as well as actual, a client that can potentially find value in getting their products out there, and creating content is the best way to be able to do that.
Right. So community building is very important. So if you think you don't have value, but you have people following you, that's your value, because your tribe, your community, you know what I mean? That's what's going to, like Danny said, like that's your evaluation.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? The community that you built. And I think a lot of times, especially in our underprivileged communities, minority communities, we don't really understand the value of building to scale and sell. I think that we just build businesses or acquire or get businesses for the hustle aspect. I got to make money. I got to, you know what I mean? But we should also think about building a community and also building it to scale and sell, because at the end of the day, you need an exit strategy.
You need an exit
Danny just talked about how he's you know what I mean, once he get acquired and once, you know what I mean, his vision and mission is set, he's going to go and reach back and do all these other things. But if you don't build your company structured in a certain way that it can be acquired from the team that you have,
for sure,
from the community that you built, from the impact that you have, you will just be stuck in this rat race of this hustle mentality. And I'm not against any hustlers out there. Shout out to y'all. I'm not against the hustle concept. I'm just against the structure of what you build and spend your hard sweat, equity, and everything building this up. You won't even be able to sell it, because someone's going to come look at it and be like, okay, you're making money, but where's the impact? Where's the community? You know what I mean? Right. So I feel like that's really important, and I just want to be able to harp on that a little bit. Focus on building a business from day one, structure it to be able to scale and potentially sell, have an exit strategy.
Sure. Yeah, you either can sell or you go IPO or you fail. Right, so you're like, pick your poison. Like, I'm gonna sell it or I'm gonna IPO. You know, and I think when it comes down to it, just be ready to have that in as your exit strategy. When you talk to any investor, they're gonna hope that you have that in your exit strategy. I come across so many people that says, Danny, I want you to help me in my business, and it's almost like, all right, you know, what is your business? How much is going to be valued in the next 10 years? And what are you going to do when it comes down to having like an option to sell it? Are you going to sell it? And some individuals are like, they know that it sounds nice to be like, I'm so passionate, I want to do this forever. But investors are like, I'm not trying to do this forever. I put money in, I want it out. You know, tell me what your exit strategy is, you know, and if you don't have that, then it's you put yourself out of the actual running of getting any type of investment or any partnership. Because people are like, you know, there's an element of everything is for sale. You learn that. Facts. You learn that from coming in. You grew up in the actual in tough environments. You recognize everything for sale.
Everything for sale, and everybody has a price.
Everybody has a price.
Like Danny said, you know, it seems good. I want to do this for the rest of my life. Trust me, everybody got a price.
And when somebody comes and be like, all right, who's your competitors? Ain't nobody competing with me. This is the number one thing. It's like, you clearly haven't done enough research. You always compete.
Right, always.
There's always a price. There's always a sale. There's always competitors. You know, find them out so you can compete with them. You got to think about like Apple and Microsoft. You know, they pay attention to their competitors. You know, like they say, like, what do you do today?
They're very analytical when it comes to
their How did you do this today?
Yeah, facts.
You got to be just like that with your competitors.
Oh, they just came out with a new iPhone 50, so we need to come out with a new Samsung slide phone. They can, you know, a chip in your head. Like, you have to understand your competition, and that also helps you build a better business.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Because a lot of times, there's not a lot of times that we are first to a lot of things. Let's be honest. This is a big world with billions of people in it.
For sure.
In some capacity, someone might have had the idea. You can either make it better, and if you are first to an idea, understand that you're probably first to implement it, but somebody probably had the thought process.
And even try, but
fail. So understand, and Sierra kind of tells me this all the time. She say that a lot of times when we think of something or we think something is a good idea, try to execute that as fast as possible. You know what I mean? And as efficiently as possible. But
fail as fast
as possible. Because at the end of the day, someone's out there with the same idea, and they're going to execute it if you don't. So
man, it's been plenty of time, bro. I had like these brilliant ideas, and I go to Google and I Google the idea, and like, oh man, all these people already thought about this. So it's no such thing as creating a new wheel.
Yeah.
Like you can never reinvent the wheel, but you can add your own rim to it. You can color,
actually,
you can paint it, do everything to it.
For
so,
sure. For sure.
You know,
for sure.
just make your own lane with certain things that you're doing, and like you said, execute.
Yeah, execute is very, very critical, man. A lot of people have the thoughts, but it's very hard to execute.
Facts.
And simply just sitting down and building a business plan and then spending the time
Right.
to do a 7, 15, 25, 40-page business plan is enough for you to be able to be like, all right, I thought I'm look crazy. This is real.
Man, be honest, bro. A lot of people don't even have a business plan. Like a lot of people be like, I want to start this and I want to start a clothing company. I'm like, okay, how are we going to start? I have this drawing of this shirt. I'm like, listen,
Like, yeah.
you need to do some more research. You need to go do
Yeah.
research about vendors. You need to go put a pitch deck together. You
all
need to
that.
just put together a plan. A lot of times that we don't even know what a business plan is.
Yeah.
And I'm be honest, I was guilty of that.
Yeah.
I was
cool.
under the hustle mentality.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get as many semi trucks as I can. I'm gonna just try to make as much money.
Yeah.
But I had no team. I had
Yeah, for
I had
sure.
nobody do the. I had no back office. So
Yeah.
a lot of times we have to understand like you need structure.
You have
in
to
business,
have structure,
you know,
yeah,
so.
for sure. You know,
Yeah.
you can go out there, but having that structure is very keen to be able to build a solidified business.
Facts.
And I would just say, like for me, I feel lucky because I went to school for entrepreneurship, so like that was things that we studied.
Is that a real? Is
you can
is
do
that
that
an
for
actual
real?
thing?
Yeah. So it's a business administration, yeah, and you
Disclaimer:
can,
I'm a college
schools,
dropout.
yeah.
I never made it
Yeah,
that
I
yeah.
far.
started it, but I ain't finished. I'm like,
yeah. Most of our classes,
dope.
like entrepreneur, like
Okay.
they give you a makeshift business. You have to think about a makeshift business, and you have to work with your engineering team and your marketing team
Oh,
in the
okay.
college, and then y'all create a capstone, and that capstone is like what you get to pitch your business to investors by. That's how you graduate. You have to pitch to investors in the area. So you create a full product, a full business. But I was lucky enough because I had a business on campus that my professor allowed me to do my business as my capstone. So I was literally building my business plans, building like what you see today, this facility that we have right now. I remember in college building that facility and going
wow.
to that of SketchUp and building the actual diagram. I remember vividly me in college in 2011 building an actual SketchUp design, and I spent hours and hours and days like building the facility and building chairs and doing mock-ups of like the bar and having a space for the spectator seating and the production. I remember doing that while I was in college. So what I'm seeing now is just like it's like mentally, like I knew I've already
True
been working towards this.
manifestation.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true manifestation. It's like a Hearthstone. It starts up here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It starts up here and you just manifest into reality. And
Yeah,
you're a
I'm
true
just-
testament of
Yeah.
that. So I just want to tell you, man, like I'm really so pleased to have you on this show. And
Yeah.
before we go, what are any up and coming things with Exposure that you have going on before we?
Yeah, man, one of the things that I've been and Brittany knows this, but I've been personally working on is for the longest I wanted to work with Dallas Mavericks, and when the NBA 2K and League announced, which is owned by the NBA, and this 5v5 competition. And these gamers come from all around to be able to compete, to be on the NBA team where they get a $60,000 prize purse. $60,000 salary, and they compete for about $2.5 to $3.5 million every 6 months. Wow. And I remember when Mavs Gaming was an entity that was established. They announced. And I was always wanting to work with them, just being in esports, and they always looked at us as a competitor because we had a facility, because we had the community of 2K, and they would recruit from that. So they always just like, y'all a competitor, like
We ain't messing with y'all.
We ain't
Yeah.
messing with y'all, and it took about 5 years for them to go through their trials and tribulations to the point to right now where they're really bringing us in and they're doing their competitions out of our facility because of the skill sets that we have in this industry. So while I was like, why are y'all looking at us as a competitor? Y'all should be looking at us as an actual asset to your development. But because you didn't have us as an asset, your development shrunk. And now you're looking for us to be able to help your actual development grow. And I think when it comes down to it, I can be bitter. I can be like, I'm not messing with them, but I've been so passionate about working with them that it just took time for them to see our true value, right? And now one of my biggest things that I see up and coming is that now I have the capabilities in our team to be able to run productions for an actual NBA team, which drives the portfolios for our team, which ultimately helps us get more in the door to owning a team. And at that point, I tell you, I'm going to acquire my company's going to get acquired, and I'm going to go own a team, and I'm going to be sitting on the actual sideline. And it may be Dallas Mavericks.
You heard it here. And you heard it here first. You heard it here first on mentality. I have another question for you, and I can't leave without really giving some of my young, future, inspiring content creators in gaming. How do someone that wants to take professional gaming, how do they get into it? Like, if I'm a young kid right now, tell me how do I get into
That's so dope.
professional gaming?
Yeah. So you find platforms that allows you to see the tournament. So there's platforms like Start.gg. There's platforms like Tournament, Battlefy. These showcase tournaments in your local area. The best thing to be able to learn is about going to the actual tournaments. Tournaments is like a family reunion. You find some of the dopest gamers or aspiring gamers. They travel all across the country every weekend together just to be able to go to tournaments where they're able to make a $5,000 prize purse or a $20,000 prize purse or $100,000 or $1 million prize purse. It's a community that travels all around. Wow. So for you as an aspiring gamer, it's to actively, or aspiring professional gamer, it's to find where their community resides and then travel with them so you can see where they're competing, what prize purses they're offering, tips when you go to these actual events. You're able to hear from them like, don't get this team because this team the meta is not good, or get this team because like the actual wide receivers that may not be as good in the real world, they're really good on the virtual world, So you get all that insight so therefore you can develop the skill sets to actually win in these tournaments. And then from there, you actively can show your actual skill sets by little learning lessons that you have. And then that helps you win larger prize purses, and then at that point some team is going to look at being able to scout you, so therefore they can give you a actual contract so you can represent their professional esports team.
How do I get into it from the standpoint of, let's say that I'm interested in getting to these tournaments, but let's say that I can't actively apply to get into these tournaments because me personally, I'm in a couple of different franchises with a group of friends with Madden and 2K, and we just play amongst friends. Yeah. How important is it to actually stream and get that content and build that community before, or let me rephrase the question: is it important to build a community or build fans or people that support you from streaming? Is that important too?
Oh, it's incredibly important. And the basis of its importance because, one, you have to have the authentic community within that game support you. It's not as authentic if you just have a bunch of fans that they're just they just like for you, but they're not engaged with the community because the community is going to be like, you imposter, So in this instance, it's mostly being able to know going into the core community and getting them to be a fan of you. Because now once they're a fan of you, they're going to support you, but they're also going to even support you more if you're able to bring outside fans into the community to help the community grow. So mainly focusing on going into the community that's out there, really being able to get them to galvanize around you because they feel as if like you spend every day learning about what's going on. You're adding value to the community by insights, using content to be able to share things that they didn't know that they're looking at you like, oh, thank you for getting that. You just helped me be a better pro. When you are able to do that, then they support you. And then from that point, then you're able to now bring in another value, and that's bringing outside individuals into their community. So now they're looking at you as like, wow, you're helping us grow now. So now when it grows, you're now seeing the prize purses go from 10 million to 20 million to 50 million to 100 million. So now they're looking at you as like, dog, you just really helped our actual growth of our industry, and we're going to support you from that perspective. So for someone that's looking to get in, it's actively being able to understand where the community is and seeing what differentiates yourself from the community so you can bring in an outside community to help the actual industry grow.
Right, and for my young viewers that want to get into it, my aspiring gamers that want to do this full time, Danny also harped on that, yes, there are competition, but that's only like 10% of these sports teams from their income. So being able to learn how to make content, learn how to be engaging while you're streaming. One of my favorite guys is Tim the Tap Man, and I watch him religiously all the time.
For sure.
And I even got my girl to even know who he was just because I'm sitting up here watching him like, who is that talking on all this Tim the Tap Man? Who is that? Oh, he's a streamer, a gamer that, you know, has a huge platform where he's able to captivate an audience. So learn how to create content. Learn how to be able to be engaging and build a community, because the competition thing is something that is good, but it's only 10% of what they're actually bringing money in from.
Can I
and
add something to that?
Sure.
That's very critical for individuals to be able to know. Is that when I talk to students all the time, I say, it's good to be a Tim. It's good to be that of a Nate Shot. It's good to be that of a Hector Rodriguez. It's good to be that of
FaZe Swag,
Mr. Beast, or FaZe Swag,
for sure.
or that of even to the point to be a Ninja. Right. So at this point right now, it's great to be them. As an actual gamer, you have to differentiate yourself. There's all good gamers. How do you differentiate yourself? You create content around it. Right. And everybody that you're able to know, it's part of them that are creating content. You get to know them as an individual. And when I tell actual educators, I say, it's okay for these gamers to think that they could be an actual professional gamer. Hell, I did. My parents, I grew up, they said, you're going to be an NBA. You're going to be the next star. I believe that, you know? So it made me go work harder in the gym, made me go put some different reps in. And it's okay to feel as if like you're going to be the next athlete. But what it did, when they told me I was going to be an athlete, I made sure I was disciplined. I made sure I was going to practice on time. I felt like they put it in my ambiance that I was going to be a pro. And as an actual gamer, if you see a Ninja, Mr. Beast, and you say, I want to be like them, then ultimately understand that they actually took their skill sets, but they also added value to their skill sets by creating content around that and became themselves more personable to where they grew an actual fan base. But I always tell educators, it's like, your students, if they do not become a pro, then that's like shooting for the actual stars or moon, and then ultimately if they do not, they land on the moon, right? So, or they land on the stars. So in this instance right now, when you think about it, if you want to be a ninja, what you got to do? You got the game, you have to figure out the PC to game on, and then you have to figure out the PC to game on, you then have to game, and then when you want to stream, you got to figure out the OBS or Streamlabs or VMix, the platform, and then when you get that platform, you got to create your stream overlays, you got to create graphics, you got to think about actual scene flows, right? That helps you think about production, that actually think about graphic designing, you using Photoshop or Lightroom or such, so you're learning those actual software platforms, and in an instance now, you're actually building your audience, so now you got to think about your personality, you got to think about your cadence, you got to think about your frequency of you actually streaming when the times that you're actually getting tired. So in this instance, now you're building all of those skill sets to at the end of the day, that if you just do not become a ninja, you've built skill sets that can help you be that valuable to any company, because any company is looking for those skill sets to help their company be that much more valuable. So if you do not, you can shoot for the moon, but at the end of the day, those skill sets that you're developing will help you land on the stars.
That's real game. That's real game. And it's free. 99.
Free. And that's dope. And I feel like that, you know, you have gave this platform so much value, Danny, and I really appreciate you. Where can people find you or get in contact or even check out your work?
Yeah, I think, again, as I tell individuals, it's like LinkedIn has been one of the best platforms for me as from a development perspective. Why? Is because they spent more focus in regards to making genuine connections with individuals outside of understanding the tactics of views and trying to do things that just increase the actual visualization. Like TikTok does a really good job, and I'm not going to dog TikTok, but they do a really good job in giving micro that of data points that makes it much more than what it really is. But I'm not gonna say it's not what it is. It's real, but it's micro data that says I can get 100,000 views or 100 million views. But LinkedIn has done a great job of keeping it to where it's one-to-one, where you can build an actual community where people can validate those actual communities in a business sense, right? But you're going to get more companies that's going to add value to that of TikTok because they are used to those actual metrics. They want the bigger numbers. Marketing firms make a lot of money off of that. But one of the things I would say from a LinkedIn perspective is that it keeps it authentic. So people core in the community, they really value real information on LinkedIn, so they will support you more. Companies and people that works with these companies will support, and the actual metrics in LinkedIn makes it to where if you are a thought leader, you can get out there further and faster to true people that needs to connect with you. So for me, when I tell individuals like link with me on LinkedIn, but most importantly, don't just follow me. Go to LinkedIn, my profile, and go to activity, and sometimes recent activity. And what you do now is you're able to see all the people that I connect with. Right. If I'm in a true community, I'm liking, I'm commenting on people's posts. I'm actually engaging with individuals that I'm inspired by. I'm giving them insight. I'm giving them actual inspiration. And these are people that I'm very connected with because we are part of a community. So if you wanted to be able to get in this industry, you go to my activity and you go follow and engage with everybody that I'm engaging with. And once you do that, you ultimately are now embedded in that community, and people get to see you for what you are and what you do. And if you're not adding value to that community, then people are going to see who you are and what you do for who you are.
Wow. And I just and with that being said, just to harp on this, the last point that you made, I know and our brother Ben Next said this, that you'll never have to condemn a dirty glass. Just put a clean one next to it. So, man, I really like that analogy. And with that being said, like, he just gave you the game. Like, you know what I mean? Interact with him and also interact with the people that he's interact with. So now you're a part of a community. That's the game. Like, I hope that didn't go over y'all head. You know, I hope that didn't go over y'all head.
For sure.
That was dope.
I love it.
That was dope. So
man, I feel like this is a great episode, bro. Man, like I'm really inspired. You know, I'm not a gamer, bro, but just listening to it, you know, it makes me so interesting.
I've been trying to be a professional gamer for a while. I'm still getting there though. Mr. Obsessed.
Look, now he ain't even introduced me. Now we always together. He ain't even introduced me to it.
Yeah, man. Over the last 6 months, we've had 2 individuals that's come out of our company that's made over $2.5 million.
That is
out of our city.
That is amazing.
Tallahatchie, Dallas, and also that of DeSoto.
On the map.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy to know like. We're creating. I feel like the Gucci Man of esports.
I feel like the Gucci Man in 2006.
I'm telling you, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
This is what it is right now.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, Danny, man, we definitely appreciate you being a part of the Mentality Podcast, man. Spread your mentality, man.
For sure.
You got a strong mentality.
For sure.
And I love the way that you speak and had an influence and an impact.
He talk about running 10 miles, man. You got to have a strong
man. I'm still trying to figure out. I'm trying to run 10 miles in my mind. It ain't going.
I heard him say 10 miles and definitely got out of breath. So I'm just like,
I'm gonna have to
so true definition of mentality. So
yeah,
for sure.
So man, we appreciate you for coming on and vibing with us, man. I really enjoyed this one. I really did, man.
I've been experiencing a lot of podcasts, and I think I would say this is one of the most comfortable where I feel is like I can be able to share my thought process, and I don't really have to sell. You know, I'm more so like this is what it is, and here's what we're trying to do. Here's our mission, and I didn't feel like I had to sell at all. I just feel like I just talk about really cool things that are on my mind, and
for sure,
you know, sometimes it's touchy. You know, I'm probably I hope I don't get in trouble after this. After this up live.
Car ride home might be a little different.
But I think she'll be cool. I think she's looking at this like, all right.
What you say about marriage again?
I know, man. That's
for sure.
Yeah, so appreciate y'all for tuning in with us. This is Austin Carter, aka Mr. Obsessed.
And this is your co-host Lee, Mr. Aspire to Inspire.
Awesome. And my name is Danny Martin, co-founder and CEO of Exposure. We're out.
Yeah. Don't forget to tell somebody you love them.
Mentality.
Yeah.
Truth is, can't nobody stop us. Truth is, can't nobody stop us.